Welcome to the Schools of Excellence podcast, a place for insightful conversations about building sustainable schools of excellence. Join me each week as we explore the importance of leading with your values, creating impact, and leaving a lasting legacy. My goal on the show is to provide you with clarity, elevate your mindset, and equip you with practical strategies and inspiration. I'm Chanie, a proud mother of four, a former New Yorker, now savoring sunny Florida vibes. With a professional journey spanning 18 years across all levels of school leadership, I bring nuanced insight that delve into the intricate details of running a center, as well as the broader visionary aspects of leadership. Thank you for joining me for this conversation. Let's build a legacy of excellence together. Hello there, and welcome back to the Schools of Excellence podcast. I'm so excited for today's conversation because we are at the very tail end of 2024. And if you are like most school leaders that I've been connecting with over the last several weeks, you're sitting at this point of the year with a mixture of pure exhaustion and also a lot of pride. Really made the impact that you hoped that you would during this school year. And so today we are actually going to reflect together, not with spreadsheets and KPI dashboards, but we are going to do real reflection and questions that tell us where we move the needle on where it matters most. So as you're sitting at your desk right now, if you're listening, or if you're driving, or if you're doing laundry, you may have already started to look at those year-end reports. You may have already met with your accountant and your tax strategist. And I know that there are so many questions running through your mind. And so I want to transform these late night worries into moments of celebration. Because here's the deal, my friend. You have accomplished way more than you realize. So I'm going to divide today's episode into a few different buckets that I know that you're thinking about. And I'm going to give you some insightful questions and celebration prompts. So if you're driving or doing other things, that's fine. You can listen to the episode, but then afterwards, feel free to come back so that you can get some of the prompts so that you can take some time and journal on them when you have some time or when you have your quiet time in the morning. So let's talk about enrollment and financials. So one of the questions that I know that you are asking yourself is, did we hit our numbers this year? And will we hit our numbers next year? So instead of asking that question, which is a good question to ask, we can also look at it from the perspective of, look at all of the families who found their permanent home with us. While you may have not hit every single target this year, there are families who found their home with you. I know some of you have asked, oh my gosh, we lost some of our key families or our alumni families. And a different question that you can look at is, who is the parent that almost left, but now is your biggest champion? Another component of financials is, how will we afford everything? Well, we could ask that, or we can say, look how creative we were in stretching our resources this year. So the reason I'm reflecting in this way is I already know that if you're listening to this episode, you're pretty type A, you probably beat yourself up enough about what you didn't do. And that's not what coming onto this podcast is about. I don't want people coming onto this show and listening to almost like a little bashing session of what they're not doing. That's not the space that we want here. I want you to have a good dose of truth because it's important for me to be a truth teller. And I want you to find space here where it's like, okay, I may not have hit every single one of my targets, and I want to make sure I'm celebrating all of the amazing things that our school has done, not to be patronizing to me, but to actually help me see the perspective of what we've done at scale. So here are some great celebration prompts in the enrollment and financial category. I want you to think of 3 families whose lives have been changed because they chose your school. Number 2, list one creative solution that you found this year for budget. I know there are several, but I want you to list one. And I want you to identify your most successful retention conversation, whether that was with staff retention or parent retention. Identify that most successful one. Now, you may be listening to this, I don't have time for this. This is really a nice idea, but I don't know that I could do it. I'm inviting you to push pause and do this because you need to enter 2025, not just with a sense of hopefulness and ambition of like, we're going to do all these crazy goals. You need to come in with a really strong sense of reality of your starting point. Like, okay, this is really where we are, like a true sober conversation of where you are. And I don't want you to just come in and being like a bulldog of like, and we're going to do all of these things. I want you to come in with such a grounding sense of self-confidence that you could do the things that you're going after because your history shows you that you are successful, that you know how to stretch resources, that you know how to retain families, that families have chosen you, that you've transformed parents who almost left into champions. That kind of reflection does more for you than however much money is sitting in the bank. Your level of self-trust is directly correlated to how well you will hit certain targets. Let's go to the next category, staff journey, right? We're asking questions like, will my teachers burn out? What if key teachers leave? How do I support my teachers better? Let's flip it. How did our team grow stronger this year? Where were the moments that we got it right? I often joke about, when my kids, well, now all my kids know, how to put their shoes on, right foot, left foot, tie their shoelaces. It's a big milestone in parenting journey. But when my kids were younger and, I was teaching them, which shoe goes on, I remember my mom was like looking at, I don't remember which kid it was. And she's like, they always get it on the wrong feet. They always put the right foot on the left foot. And I remember thinking like, they don't always get it wrong. It's just we notice when they put their shoes on the wrong feet, but they do get it right sometimes. And I often think about that when it comes to staff. I think we do a really good job beating ourselves up in all the places where we could have done better with our staff. And today's conversation is about where were the moments where you got it right with your staff. Let's talk about parent partnership evolution. So some questions that I know a lot of leaders ask is like, why aren't they reading our messages? Or how do we deal with demanding families? Or what are they saying about us? And I think some different ways to flip on this is look at the conversations that have mattered in the last 6 months. What is all the positive reviews that our company has earned? Where have we gotten amazing referrals? So here's a celebration prompt. Oh, actually, I need to go back. I didn't give you celebration prompts for staffing. So some celebration prompts. 1, I want you to highlight a teacher who found their voice and their confidence this year. I already know, even if you're in the middle of doing 20 things right now, you can immediately think of one teacher in your roster who's found their voice and their confidence. And that's a moment to remember. I want you to think of a time this year that your team surprised you with their adaptability and their resilience. You will find it. You will find it. And I want you to think of one initiative that really stuck this year. I talk to hundreds of leaders that are like, we start things, but we don't finish them, or they gain a ton of momentum and then we can't keep it on track. Okay, we're going to talk about that in the next episode. This episode is think of an initiative that you did in 2024 that stuck, that you really kept to, because I know you'll find one. Okay, let's go back to parent partnerships because I skipped around a little bit here. What are some celebration prompts on parent partnerships? I want you to share a story of a challenging parent who became an advocate for the school. I have dozens of these stories from when I was a leader of a school, and I know you have them. Here's another prompt. Identify your most impactful community moment. There are probably dozens of different moments in your community that families were impacted deeply. I want you to think of one. And then the last one, which I think is probably the most important one of these prompts, if you can only do one, is what is any kind of feedback that you got from parents that gave you the validation that your approach to leadership, to education, to the curriculum is working. Let's continue. Personal leadership journey. These are the questions I get all the time. Am I doing enough? How can I be everywhere? What am I missing? And the way to flip that to celebration is I want you to think about the most courageous decision that you made this year? You've made many courageous decisions. Think of one. Another celebration prompt is think of one boundary that you honored this year that made your life better. So, as we wrap up here, these aren't just feel-good stories, right? I want you to look at this as the evidence and proof and data, even though it's not in a dashboard or a spreadsheet, that you have made impact this year in your school. Because as you look ahead into 2025, and that's what next week's episode is going to be about, you have all of this to carry with you. This is the proof that you're not just getting by or just managing your school. You are transforming lives in your center, one decision at a time. And so I really want to invite you to take time to write down some of these celebration prompts. And I want you to really look at not just the ones that look good on paper that you would want to screenshot and share. I want you to choose the ones that really feel the most significant to your heart and soul, because that's a real measure of tremendous success. So thank you for joining me for today's conversation. Next week, we're going to be talking about forecasting and looking ahead for 2025. If you are loving the Schools of Excellence podcast and have gotten any value out of it for your school, I would love if you can do two things for me. One, subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode. And two, can you please leave us a review? Reviews help other school leaders know that this is the place to learn how to build a school of excellence. And I would be so grateful if you can do that for us. Your help and support makes this show to be able to be listened by the thousands of other school leaders all around the world. Thanks so much for listening, for giving us your time and attention each and every week. And I appreciate that you have joined us.